You will hear a conversation between a woman and a hotel receptionist about a booking. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Good morning, Ocean Crest Hotel. How can I assist you?
Hello, I'd like to make a room booking for the second weekend of June. My name is Sarah Taylor.
Certainly, Ms. Taylor. May I have your contact number?
Yes, it's 07961 435827.
Thank you. And your email address, please.
It's s.thompson@brightermail.com, all lowercase.
Got it. How many nights would you like to stay?
3 nights, from Friday evening to Monday morning.
That's noted. Would you like a standard, deluxe, or family room with sea view?
A deluxe room with sea view, please. It's for a short break, so I'd prefer something a bit more comfortable.
Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Would you like to include any extra services?
Yes, I'll need airport transfer, but just for the arrival. I've already arranged a lift back to the airport.
Noted. For breakfast, we offer both English and vegetarian options. Any preference?
Vegetarian, please. I don't eat meat.
Okay. Do you have any other special requests?
Yes, please make sure the room has wheelchair access. My father will be with me and he uses one.
Of course. And your payment method?
I'll use a debit card for this one.
Lastly, can I confirm your booking reference?
Yes, it's HT92847.
You will hear a guide talking about a local museum and its facilities. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Welcome to the Grand Oak Museum, a place where history, art, and education come together. Today, I'll give you a quick overview of what the museum offers and some important information for your visit. Let me begin with a bit of history. The museum was originally constructed in the year 1895 as a small gallery displaying local heritage. Over the years, it has expanded significantly, now housing over 10,000 artifacts from different periods and cultures. If you're entering the building, the south side is where the main entrance is located. It's the first thing you'll see when you arrive, and from there, the visitor center will guide you through all available exhibitions. Speaking of exhibitions, this month's special display is particularly exciting. We're featuring a collection of modern sculptures by internationally recognized artists. These pieces explore futuristic themes using metal, recycled materials, and interactive technology. Now, if you're planning to come with a group, you'll need to book in advance. The museum requires group tour reservations to be made at least 2 weeks ahead of time to ensure proper arrangements can be made with our staff and curators. As for the shop, many visitors like to take home a souvenir. We have a wide variety of items available, but the most popular are our books and souvenirs, which include art prints, miniature replicas, and guides to the museum's collections.
Now turn to questions 16 to 20. You have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Moving on to our facilities, let me mention a few things that might be helpful during your visit. The cafe, which is a favorite resting spot for many of our guests, is located on the second floor. It offers a great view of the sculpture garden and serves snacks, light meals, and drinks throughout the day. If you're carrying heavy bags or backpacks, you'll be pleased to know that you can leave them in the cloakroom, which is adjacent to the reception area on the ground floor. This service is free of charge, though we do recommend not leaving valuables. For those visiting with children, we run regular craft workshops. These are fun, educational, and often themed around the exhibitions. They usually take place in the Discovery Room on the first floor. Please remember that photography is not allowed in the ancient gallery, as the lighting from cameras can damage sensitive materials. However, you're free to take pictures elsewhere unless marked otherwise. Lastly, note that the museum operates with different hours on Sundays. It closes at 5 on Sundays, an hour earlier than usual, so plan your visit accordingly.
You will hear a student named Emma talking about her research project. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, I'm Emma Spencer, and I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in marine biology. Today I'll walk you through the details of my upcoming research project, what I aim to study, and the practical plans I've set in motion so far. To start with the main topic, my research will focus on coral reef conservation methods. This topic is especially close to my heart because I've grown up near coastal regions and seen firsthand how fragile these ecosystems are. Initially, I had planned to explore the wider issue of climate change and its effects on marine life in general. However, during a meeting with my academic supervisor, it became clear that this approach was a bit too broad for a postgraduate thesis. That led me to narrow it down. So, I've now decided to focus solely on reef conservation techniques. Specifically, I'll be looking at what's working and what's not, such as artificial reef structures, coral gardening, and marine protected areas. My supervisor strongly advised that I narrow down my research focus, as otherwise, I might struggle with both time management and the volume of data. Next, you might wonder where this research will take place. Well, I'll be conducting my fieldwork in Indonesia. It's an ideal location because it's part of the Coral Triangle, which is home to some of the world's most diverse coral systems. I'll be spending about 4 weeks there, working with local NGOs and marine scientists who are already doing conservation work on site. Now let's talk money, always an important part of any research. I applied for 3 funding grants and was lucky enough to receive one from the National Oceanic Foundation. That grant covers all research expenses, from airfare to diving equipment, lab supplies, and accommodation. I even have a small allowance for food and transportation during the field visits. As for the timeline, I have to submit my proposal by next month, specifically, before the 20th. I've already drafted most of the literature review and started framing the objectives, so I believe I'm on track. The earlier I submit, the more time I'll have for refining things based on feedback from the committee.
Now turn to questions 26 to 30. You have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Let me explain the process I'm following for the research in a step-by-step way. I started with a thorough literature review, gathering previous findings and identifying gaps in existing work. After that, I moved on to developing hypotheses, trying to form research questions that are testable and grounded in theory. Once I had that framework, the next step was to collect data. For this project, that involves underwater surveys, recording coral growth, and tracking reef health metrics. I'll also conduct interviews with local divers and marine staff to gain qualitative insights. After collecting everything, I'll move to the analysis phase, where I'll analyze using software. I plan to use marine-specific tools like Reef Base Analyzer and a customized GIS platform to track spatial trends. The writing phase will follow immediately. I'm aiming to write chapters in sequence rather than all at once, beginning with methodology and finishing with results and discussion. Finally, everything will be submitted for review. The department committee will provide initial feedback before it goes for external examination.
You will hear a lecture on the history and future of urban planning. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Urban planning is something most of us take for granted: roads, parks, zoning laws, but the journey of how cities were designed and managed is quite fascinating. Today, I'll take you through the history of urban planning, from its ancient origins to its futuristic vision. Let's start from the beginning. The first planned cities are believed to have appeared in the Indus Valley Civilization, which dates back to around 2600 BCE. What's remarkable about these ancient cities is how advanced their design was. Towns like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa had streets laid out in a grid pattern, very similar to what we see in modern urban centers. The design wasn't random at all. Roads intersected at right angles, and residential blocks were neatly organized. But it wasn't just the street layout that was impressive. The buildings in these cities were made of baked bricks, uniform in size and quality. This standardization suggests a high level of planning and governance. Drainage systems, public baths, and even granaries were included in the town's infrastructure, indicating not just planning but also a sense of public welfare. Now fast forward to the medieval period. Cities developed in a more organic, unplanned manner. The focus shifted to religious and military priorities. In Europe, for example, most cities were built around a central cathedral or church, which served as both a spiritual and community hub. Streets were often winding and confusing, but this wasn't accidental. These narrow passages were designed for defensive purposes. During times of invasion, it made it harder for attackers to navigate through and control the city quickly. Then came the Industrial Revolution, a time of rapid urban expansion. The influx of workers to urban centers was unprecedented, and as a result, cities struggled to cope. There was little time for thoughtful planning. Housing was hastily constructed, and many people lived in temporary accommodations lacking basic sanitation. This led to major sanitation problems, diseases spread rapidly, and living conditions deteriorated. Eventually, governments and city planners began to realize the importance of structured development. This gave rise to modern urban planning. One of the most significant developments during this era was the idea of the garden city. These were designed to include plenty of green spaces, parks, tree-lined avenues, and recreational zones to offer a break from the grey industrial surroundings. Another important concept introduced was zoning, where cities were divided into different sectors: residential, commercial, industrial, and so on. This separation allowed for better traffic flow and reduced the risk of pollution in homes and schools. For example, factories were no longer built next to housing estates, ensuring a better quality of life for residents. The zoning system kept commercial activities away from quieter neighborhoods. Now let's turn to the future. Urban planning is evolving rapidly in response to challenges like climate change, overpopulation, and technological disruption. There is an increasing focus on sustainable development, cities that use renewable energy, reduce emissions, and promote walking and cycling. Many modern cities are moving towards self-sufficiency in energy and waste management. Another concept gaining traction is the idea of smart cities. These cities utilize data and technology to improve efficiency. For example, traffic lights can adjust based on real-time congestion levels, or waste bins can notify the authorities when full. All of this is aimed at improving urban life and reducing environmental impact. Lastly, one of the most promising trends is the shift toward mixed-use neighborhoods. Instead of segregating functions, where people live in one area, work in another, and shop in yet another, mixed-use planning integrates all of these. So, you might live in an apartment above a bakery, work in a co-working space down the street, and take your kids to school all within walking distance. This reduces reliance on cars and fosters a stronger sense of community. To sum up, from the precise layout of ancient Indus cities to the tech-driven smart cities of tomorrow, urban planning has always evolved to meet the changing needs of society. The goal remains the same: to create safe, healthy, and efficient spaces for people to live, work, and thrive.
That is the end of the test.